The story of Adam and Eve. The fall of man can actually be traced back to 6 lowest common denominators: pride and arrogance through Lucifer, power and control through Eve, sex and love through Adam. It all begins with Lucifer, the son of the morning, the light bearer, not the morning star like it says in that trash NIV translation. Jesus is the only true morning star. But I digress. Second to none other than God himself, a third of the angels worshipped him, and it got to his head. Isaiah 14 records his pride and arrogance most clearly. I will ascend to heaven. I will be like the Most High. But once cast down to God's footstool, the earth, Lucifer's misery needed company, and so he turned to his oldest tactic: divide and conquer.
If he were telling the truth, he wouldn't have told us.
Unless, of course, he knew you wouldn't believe the truth, even if he told us.
If you enjoy intriguing content like this, please make sure to like, follow, and share for more. According to the Book of Jubilees, the serpent didn't strike right away. He observed Adam and Eve in the garden for 7 years. But before we get to Eve's temptation, we need to notice a small but important detail. Adam and Eve weren't created in the garden. They were placed there. Eden was the dwelling place of the Lord, a place where God himself walked with his children. So Adam was placed there first, but God saw that it was not good for man to be alone. And so he caused Adam to fall into a deep sleep, and from his rib he fashioned Eve. After her time of purification, 40 days for Adam, but 80 for Eve, due to the blood of menstruation, she too was placed in the garden. Now comes the first instance of the telephone game. God told Adam, don't eat. But when Eve repeats, the command changes to don't eat or touch, or will die. Was that Adam adding a fence around the law when he told Eve? Or did Eve add the don't touch part herself? We don't know. And it doesn't matter. What matters is this: Satan had spotted his opening. For 7 years, he had watched how Adam and Eve interacted. And what did he see? Adam was absolutely smitten with Eve, puppy dog smitten even. He adored her, followed her lead, and was at her beck and call. This is much like what I see in the world today, with emasculated men and white knights singing the song, happy wife, happy life. I'd rather be happy than right. I know, because I took all the older men's advice, and that was what they said every time. So is Adam the only one guilty? I dare say not. Just look in the mirror and ask yourself, how many times have you thought with your small head over your big one? I digress. So Satan bided his time until the right moment when Eve was alone. Then he struck, using psychological warfare, divide and conquer. Did God really say you can't eat from the tree? Eve responds with her version of the command, we can't eat it or even touch it or we'll die. And at that moment, the serpent seized the opportunity.
Gotcha, bitch!
Oh, you silly rabbit. Pluck. He snatches the fruit and places it in Eve's hand. You won't die. God just said that because he doesn't want you to become like him, knowing good and evil. See, you're touching it, aren't you? You haven't dropped dead, have you? This was the temptation, to be as gods. It was a half-truth. The angels had been created with both free will and the knowledge of good and evil. So why not humanity? 2 reasons. 1, God had already seen the destruction that came from Lucifer's pride. And 2, just as a loving parent shields their children from being exposed too early to the world, God wanted to preserve mankind's innocence. But remember, misery loves company, and Eve, longing for wisdom, power, and control, partook. Immediately her eyes were opened. She realized her nakedness. She covered herself with fig leaves. But Adam hadn't eaten yet. He still didn't see his nakedness. When Eve approached him, clothed in fig leaves, holding a fruit, Adam faced the hardest decision of his life. Stay with God or die with Eve. And Adam chose Eve. He chose sex and love over obedience. And in that choice, humanity fell. But here's the beautiful truth. None of this surprised God. He allowed free will. He allowed the serpent. He allowed the test. And yes, he allowed the failure. Why? Because he had already written redemption into the very fabric of creation, hidden in the very first word of the Bible, Bereshit. When you break it down letter by letter, it reveals this phrase: the Son of God destroyed by his own hand on a cross with thorns on his head on a tree as a gift to fulfill the covenant. Before the fall, God had already provided the way back. Now, let me drop one more golden nugget about this story. Think about the timing. Eve fell after 7 years. Science today even talks about the 7-year itch, when marriages so often collapse. And notice too, women are often about 7 years more mature than men. Eve's eyes opened first and Adam's lagged behind. The pattern is eerie, don't you think? But let's zoom out. The serpent did us no favors. Everyone thinks about the good side of the knowledge of good and evil. Nobody considers the evil. And now humanity thinks we can indulge in both and have our cake and eat it too, and then have the audacity to blame God for our own evil desires? Lucifer didn't help us by giving us knowledge of good and evil. He corrupted God's creation in doing so. But the world doesn't even see the rebellion, just the same way many fathers get labeled monsters by their ex-wives and convince their children that their daddies are all monsters. You see the pattern yet? I'm guessing there are many men out there that will. Drop a comment if I just dropped a truth bomb and you've lived it or are living through this now. Let's show just how many men are going through this very same thing. Worse still are those who imagine they'd have done it better than Adam and Eve, that they wouldn't have been deceived, that they wouldn't have fallen to lust, pride, or control. But the truth, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. As a child, I used to be angry at Adam and Eve, angry that their failure led to original sin. But when I turned 36, I finally realized I was just like Adam, a failure who listened to the wrong voice, a man who hearkened unto the voice of his wife rather than God. And it wasn't until I saw my own wretchedness that I realized my true need for a savior. That's the real danger of our age. In a world full of distraction and plenty, who needs God, right? And yet, it's always the most broken who find him, because the broken are the ones who know they need him. The fall isn't just an old story. It's not just a myth. It's a love story. For God so loved the world. And if the world only knew. So I hope this deep dive into the fall of man opened your eyes to details you may have never considered. And if you enjoyed this content, please make sure to like, follow, and share for more. But until next time, the Faceless Prophet out.
If he were telling the truth, he wouldn't have told us.
Unless, of course, he knew you wouldn't believe the truth, even if he told the truth.